Dr. Elias Hart had never seen anything like Virelia before. The planet stretched out like a living painting, with forests taller than skyscrapers, rivers that shimmered in strange hues, and skies that flickered with subtle shades of violet. Humans had only recently established a fragile alliance with the Zetharians, a race of towering armored beings whose strength and intelligence had once made them nearly untouchable. Elias had come as a medic, sent to study Zetharian biology and to act as a bridge between the two species. He had spent weeks navigating the immense corridors of the Zetharian palace, careful not to show fear at the sheer scale of everything around him. The halls were lined with glowing crystals, and Zetharian guards, each larger than a human house, moved with silent precision. Their eyes, deep and multifaceted, seemed to watch every move. Elias had learned quickly that patience was as important as skill when dealing with this species. One morning, as Elias prepared to check on a routine sample of Zetharian blood, a message arrived that made him freeze. Queen Vrithra wanted to see him immediately. The message was brief but urgent, carried through a telepathic relay. "Make it stop. It itches," it read. The words echoed in Elias's mind, strange in their simplicity yet filled with raw desperation. He was escorted by 2 guards through twisting corridors that seemed to stretch forever. Every step felt like walking through a world built for giants. Finally, they arrived at a massive chamber. The ceiling was high above, shaped like an enormous dome, with light streaming in from crystal windows. At the center of the room, the queen moved uncomfortably. Her body was immense, covered in segmented, chitinous armor. Even from a distance, Elias could see the subtle shivers as she shifted her weight. When she noticed him, she raised a hand, and the telepathic connection intensified. "Make it stop! It itches!" she repeated. Elias swallowed, his training kicking in. He had expected curiosity, perhaps caution, but never this level of direct communication. "Your Majesty," he said carefully, his voice almost drowned by the vastness of the room. "I will do everything I can. Can you describe exactly what is happening?" The queen hesitated, as if unsure how to translate her experience. Then she focused her thoughts. "Under my plates. Something moves. It burns. I cannot rest." Elias nodded, trying to imagine the problem. The Zetharian exoskeleton was unlike anything human medicine had encountered. It was not just armor. It was living tissue, alive in ways that humans could only theorize about. He began a detailed examination, moving closer under the careful observation of the guards. With the queen's consent, he extended a small scanning device toward the chitinous plates. The device, designed for alien tissue analysis, emitted soft pulses of light that danced across her armor. The readings were unusual. Nothing in human databases matched the intensity of the signals coming from her body. After several hours of careful observation, Elias began to piece together what was happening. The itching corresponded with a rare Zetharian reproductive cycle, a process that affected the queen once every few decades. During this time, her exoskeletal plates grew rapidly, sometimes unevenly, causing nerve clusters beneath to become overstimulated. But there was more. A microscopic parasite was thriving in the secretion between her plates, something harmless to other Zetharians but devastating to the queen due to her unique physiology. Elias took meticulous notes. He had never worked on a patient this size or this alien before. Each measurement had to be extrapolated, and each treatment carefully calculated. One wrong move could harm her, and by extension, jeopardize the fragile human-Zetharian alliance. As he worked, whispers passed through the court. Some advisors were skeptical, even critical. Allowing a human to touch or treat the queen seemed to them almost sacrilegious. Others argued that humans had knowledge the Zetharians themselves lacked, and that Elias's presence might be the queen's best hope. Elias felt the weight of their gaze but reminded himself to focus. Fear and politics had no place in medicine. Elias experimented carefully, applying a combination of human anti-inflammatory compounds and Zetherian natural remedies. He was cautious not to trigger any reaction that could startle the queen. Each test was small and controlled. Even with all his precautions, he could sense the subtle shifts in her mood, an invisible tension that could escalate into dangerous movement. The queen's sheer size meant that even a small reflex could shake the room and knock over equipment. Hours passed. Elias felt the strain of working in a world designed for beings far larger than himself. He moved deliberately, every step and gesture measured. As the sun shifted in the crystal dome above, he made a breakthrough. He discovered a particular secretion under the queen's plates where the parasites concentrated. This secretion caused nerve irritation and made the queen feel as if her entire body were ablaze with discomfort. "Your Majesty," he said softly, trying to communicate reassurance more than instruction. "I believe I understand the source of the irritation. It is a combination of the growth cycle and the parasites living in the secretion. I can treat this, but it will require precision." The queen's response was a mental shiver of approval. "Do what you must," she said, the trust implicit in her words striking Elias more than any praise could. He realized that in this moment, he held not just a medical responsibility, but a symbolic one. The queen's faith in him reflected the fragile hope for peace between two very different species. The human medic began to formulate a plan. Traditional Zetherian methods could not reach deep enough, and human technology alone was insufficient for a body of this scale. He envisioned a combined approach, microscopic drones capable of delivering treatment directly to affected areas, guided by telepathic monitoring from the queen herself. It was ambitious, perhaps even audacious, but Elias had never been one to shrink from challenges. He set to work, preparing samples and modifying drones designed for microscopic surgery. Each unit had to navigate the strange geometry of Zetherian armor, avoid nerve clusters, and neutralize the parasites without causing harm to the queen's body. Elias checked and rechecked every calculation, knowing that a single error could have catastrophic consequences. Even as he worked, the court observed him silently. Some of the Zetherians had softened, intrigued by the human's determination and skill. Others remained wary, their skepticism thinly veiled by polite nods and measured glances. Elias could feel the weight of their judgment, but he did not let it sway him. Finally, after hours of preparation, Elias approached the queen again. She had calmed slightly, the initial urgency replaced with a tense anticipation. "Are you ready?" he asked, both aloud and telepathically. "I am," she replied. Her voice was firm, carrying centuries of authority and the weight of a species' survival. Elias nodded, moving carefully to begin the delicate task of addressing the parasites and soothing the nerve clusters. As he worked, he marveled at the strange beauty of the Zetherian biology. The exoskeleton, though massive and armored, moved with a fluid grace, each plate sliding against the next. The parasites, microscopic and nearly invisible, were fascinating in their own right. And through it all, the queen remained aware, her telepathic presence a constant guide and reassurance. The first steps of treatment were small but encouraging. The drones delivered their payloads, and the nerve signals began to stabilize. The queen let out a subtle vibration of relief, something Elias recognized as a Zetherian sigh. It was not complete yet, but it was progress. Elias knew the true challenge was only beginning. Neutralizing the parasites and fully relieving the queen's discomfort would require more than medicine. It would require ingenuity, courage, and careful coordination with the Zetherian telepaths. The hours ahead would test not just his skill, but his patience and determination. Yet as he looked at the queen, the thought that sustained him was simple. Humans were small, fragile, and young compared to the Zetherians, but they had a unique strength. Their curiosity, their problem-solving, and their courage could shine even in a world that seemed designed to dwarf them. And in that moment, Elias Hart resolved to prove it, not for glory, not for recognition, but because a queen, and perhaps a whole species, needed him to succeed. The room remained tense, but hopeful, the first signs of trust forming between alien and human. Outside, the forests of Virelia shimmered in the afternoon light, unaware of the quiet struggle unfolding within the palace walls. Inside, a human medic faced the greatest challenge of his career, one that would not only test his skills but redefine how his species was seen by one of the galaxy's mightiest civilizations. And as Queen Vrithra whispered again through the telepathic link, "Make it stop! Make it stop!" Elias Hart steeled himself. He would not fail. The chamber was silent except for the soft hum of the tiny drones that floated near Queen Vrithra's massive form. Dr. Elias Hart's hands moved carefully as he monitored the readings on his portable device. Each drone was delivering microscopic doses of treatment directly into the Queen's exoskeletal plates, neutralizing the parasites that had caused so much irritation. It was delicate work, but Elias had spent days preparing for this moment, and he knew every risk by heart. The Queen remained still, her massive body tense but trusting. Through the telepathic link, Elias could sense her anxiety. "It burns," she whispered, almost inaudibly. He adjusted the drone's paths, directing them toward the most inflamed areas. Slowly, the signals of discomfort began to lessen. It was a subtle change, almost imperceptible, but it was enough to give Elias hope. Outside the treatment area, members of the Zetherian court watched with quiet fascination. Some were skeptical, others anxious, but all were captivated by the sight of a human working so closely with their queen. For centuries, humans had been seen as fragile, untested in the harsh realities of the galaxy. Now they were witnessing a human's ingenuity in action, solving a problem that even Zetherian medicine had struggled to manage. As the treatment progressed, the Queen's massive form shifted slightly. Her movements were careful, almost cautious, but even small motions caused tremors that threatened to destabilize the drones. Elias's pulse quickened. Steady, he thought, speaking aloud more to himself than anyone else. He reached for the manual stabilizers and adjusted the drone formation in real time, keeping each tiny device precisely in place. Hours passed in this tense dance of technology and biology. The parasites, tiny and relentless, were finally succumbing to the combined effects of human medicine and Zetherian natural remedies. Slowly, the Queen's discomfort began to fade. Elias could feel it through the telepathic connection, a sense of relief spreading across her massive nervous system. But the process was not over. A sudden surge of nerve activity in one section of her armor sent a ripple through her body. The drones wobbled dangerously, and several nearly collided. Elias acted instantly, rerouting them with precision. "Almost there," he whispered, his heart pounding. The Queen trembled slightly, a ripple of stress that reached him like a wave. "I am ready," she sent back, her trust unwavering. Elias realized that trust was the most fragile element in the entire operation. If the Queen panicked, the entire procedure could fail. He spoke softly, both aloud and telepathically. "You are safe. I will not let harm come to you." The Queen seemed to sense the sincerity in his words. Slowly, the tremors subsided, and the drones regained stability. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Elias noted the last parasite had been neutralized. The readings were steady, the nerve signals calm. A soft, almost imperceptible vibration spread through the Queen's body, a Zetherian sigh of relief. Elias allowed himself a small smile. "Your Majesty," he said, voice echoing slightly in the vast chamber. "The treatment is complete. The irritation should fully subside soon." Through the telepathic link, the Queen's thoughts flowed gently into his mind. "It stops. Thank you, human. You have eased what I feared unbearable." Elias felt a surge of pride, not just for the success of the treatment, but for what it represented. Humans, small and physically weak compared to Zetharians, had solved a problem that had challenged an entire species. Word of the success spread quickly through the court. The counselors who had doubted Elias now regarded him with respect. Some nodded silently. Others spoke words of cautious admiration. The Queen's trust in him had elevated his status from outsider to valued ally. Humans were no longer merely observers. They were contributors, capable of ingenuity, courage, and compassion on a galactic scale. Elias allowed himself a moment to relax. The tension of the past days weighed heavily, but it was replaced with a sense of accomplishment. He looked at the Queen, massive and dignified even in relief. "It was nothing extraordinary," he said softly, though he knew it had required every ounce of skill and focus he possessed. The Queen regarded him thoughtfully, her telepathic presence warm and steady. "You are extraordinary, human. You think, you act, and you understand, in ways our species rarely does. You have shown what humans can be when trusted and given purpose." Elias felt a mix of humility and pride. Her words were not mere praise. They were recognition of humanity's potential. Over the following days, the Queen's recovery continued smoothly. The irritation faded completely, and the massive exoskeletal plates returned to their normal state. The drones were dismantled and returned to human control, each tiny device a testament to cooperation and careful planning. During this time, Elias learned more about the Zetharian way of life. He observed their councils, their rituals, and the intricate ways they communicated. And in return, he shared human knowledge, ideas, problem-solving approaches, and insights into biology and medicine that even the Zetharians found novel. The two species, once divided by suspicion and fear, began to see one another as partners rather than rivals. The Queen herself became a symbol of this new understanding. She allowed Elias closer access, not just as a medic, but as a trusted advisor. Together they planned future initiatives to study Zetharian biology, improve health, and strengthen the fragile alliance between humans and Zetharians. Through this collaboration, both species began to glimpse a future in which humans were no longer small and powerless, but respected and capable contributors to interstellar society. One afternoon, as Elias prepared notes for a report on the Queen's treatment, she sent a brief but meaningful thought. "You have changed how we see your kind. Never forget that trust and understanding can achieve what strength alone cannot." Elias nodded, smiling. He had not only treated a queen, he had demonstrated the power of human ingenuity, empathy, and courage. The alliance between humans and Zetharians, once fragile and tentative, had been strengthened by a single act of determination. The story of the human medic who helped the Queen with her mysterious irritation spread quickly, inspiring both species to see the value of cooperation and mutual respect. Humans were no longer outsiders. They were allies, innovators, and problem solvers capable of standing shoulder to shoulder with one of the galaxy's most formidable species. Elias knew that challenges would continue to arise. Virelia was full of dangers, from unpredictable wildlife to volatile environments, and the Zetharians themselves could be intimidating in ways humans had yet to fully understand. But he also knew something far more important: the human mind. Small though it may be, could achieve remarkable things when combined with courage, empathy, and determination. The Queen, now fully relieved of her discomfort, moved gracefully through her palace, occasionally stopping to communicate with Elias. Their bond, though unusual, symbolized the potential for understanding between very different worlds. The court, once wary and skeptical, now regarded humans as capable and trustworthy. The galaxy, vast and full of unknown challenges, seemed just a little smaller and a little more connected. In the quiet of his quarters that evening, Elias reflected on what had happened. He had arrived on Virelia as a medic, uncertain of his place among giants. He had faced a challenge no human had faced before, and through patience, intelligence, and courage, he had succeeded. More importantly, he had shown that humanity could shine in even the most alien and overwhelming circumstances. And somewhere deep within the palace, Queen Vrithra, relieved and steady once more, sent a final message of gratitude. You are worthy, human. You and your kind have a place in the stars. Elias smiled, feeling the weight and wonder of those words. Humanity, small and fragile though it might seem, had proven itself worthy of respect and perhaps even admiration among the giants of the galaxy. As the sun set over the vast forests of Virelia, the palace glowed softly in the twilight. Inside, a human medic had changed the course of history, not with force, but with knowledge, courage, and the simple determination to help. The story of Dr. Elias Hart and the queen who itched would be remembered, not for the discomfort that had started it, but for the bridge it had built between species, the courage it had inspired, and the hope it had given for a future where humanity could stand proud among the stars. Elias looked out at the horizon, knowing that countless challenges awaited him and his species. Yet for the first time, he felt truly confident in humanity's potential. Small, fragile, and young, humans had a gift the galaxy had yet to fully understand: the power of the mind, guided by courage, empathy, and determination, capable of overcoming obstacles far larger than themselves. And in that moment, he knew, without doubt, that humanity had earned its place among the stars.